Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully everyone is having as good of a Monday as you can possibly have since it's a Monday. Let's see what we have in the chat today. We have Jefferson, Tornadic Rebel, Mark, Powell, Phoenix, Cruz, and as well as Catman and everyone else who is in the stream. May not be chatting and just watching. Glad to have you here. Hopefully, once again, you all are having a great Monday so far. Let's go and switch to our main scene. Welcome Studios as well. Looks like everything is good to go. All right, yeah, everything is good. So we're going to be talking about the potential for severe weather for the next few days. We're also going to be talking, possibly covering today's severe weather event. Catman, I'm stuck in this routine now, so I got up at 8 a.m. I'm tired. I'm tired. And as for Capybara Rebel, I'm pretty sure he was in yesterday's coverage stream. I don't think he made it to the, the quick 57-minute chase stream, but I'm pretty sure he was in yesterday's coverage stream. But right now we have quite a bit of severe storms ongoing, and by quite a bit I mean like just a handful. There's not anything too crazy. Much of these are just for 60-mile-an-hour winds. We have one here in southeast South Dakota. We have one on the border of Minnesota, North Dakota. And then we have a couple kind of scattered around, at least according to this. Let's go find them all. So this is going to take us to New York. So we have one up there in New York as well, just to the southeast of Syracuse in New York. Let's see where this one is. That is in South Dakota. We saw that one. We have another one here, which is in Nebraska. So a lot of these are kind of scattered. There's no concentrated area of higher end severe weather at this moment. That will change in the near future, though. I want to open Radar Omega, believe it or not. And I want to show you guys the watch probabilities. I haven't seen the watch probabilities here. So for our watch out here in South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and Minnesota, which is part of our enhanced risk for severe weather 3 out of 5 today. Main risk is shocker, damaging winds, not actually a shocker at all. Matter of fact, it's actually hail that is the main threat. If you look at the probabilities there, hail is actually the biggest threat by just 20%. So hail, winds, and then can't fully rule out a brief spin-up tornado. Back out in Colorado, currently a very underperforming risk at the moment. Wind is by far the biggest issue. That's where we have the best chance to see 80 to 85 mile-an-hour wind gusts, followed by hail, and then still can't rule out a brief spin-up tornado. Then we have our last severe watch back up here in North Dakota, Minnesota, where I think the best chance for a tornado will be. And the SPC agrees. They have actually a little bit higher probability to tornado probs up here, up to a 20% tornado probability there, followed by the main threat being hail and then damaging winds. So hail, wind, and then tornadoes. That's exactly the order it goes there. So hail is the biggest issue, followed by damaging winds, and then can't rule out a tornado or two back up in this area. As you can see, I mean, these storms already taking on a discrete supercellular look to them, and they're just now starting to fire, and there should be plenty of them. The only issue with today is a big issue, not a lot of lower level wind shears, so that should be enough to keep our tornado threat a little bit more at bay. I don't expect to see anything crazy, but it wouldn't shock me if we get a good solid tornado or two out here, kind of close to the border of North Dakota and Minnesota for today. Let's go back to, I'm going to just, I guess I'll keep this open for now. We'll just go back to weather-wise, and we'll look at our overall outlooks. So for today, we've got a very large slight risk, level 2 out of 5 for severe weather, up from North Dakota, Minnesota, all the way back down into southeast Colorado. Quite decent size, level 3 out of 5 there in the middle of that, South Dakota, Nebraska, Colorado, Kansas, even into a very small sliver of Minnesota. Now, if you tuned into yesterday's quick coverage stream, you would know this is significantly different than the original outlook that we had by the SPC. They have dropped nearly half of the enhanced risk we had yesterday for today, which was your day 2 outlook. They dropped a huge chunk of that enhanced risk. A very large chunk of it was dropped at the morning update this morning, as well as a huge 5% tornado risk was completely removed. We had a huge 5% from like central South Dakota all the way through northeast Colorado and central Nebraska. That entire thing was removed at the morning update, and we did see a small expansion of the 2% tor up into North Dakota and Minnesota. So we're left with a very large 2% tornado risk and a smaller but still could be significant damaging wind risk, 30 hatched there. And then we do have the hail risk as well, which is no longer hatched. I believe this was at 15 hatched for Colorado and Nebraska, but they removed that hatched hail risk, at least at the moment. So that is all your outlook for today. For tomorrow, going to be completely different. We've got 2 different slight risks for severe weather in place. One over back towards Oklahoma and Kansas. That's a tornado warning up in North Dakota. One out there in Oklahoma and Kansas, and then another slight risk out in Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Virginia, Maryland, and I do think this could go enhanced generally somewhere in here. I think we could see an enhanced risk for damaging winds. It would not surprise me whatsoever. Looks like that is going to be a observed tornado warning. So we had an unwarned tornado there. It is now a observed tornado. So this is now observed by weather spotters. Have confirmed a tornado that is ongoing 25 miles west of Lagden, moving to the southeast at 10 miles per hour. Very close to just north of Stark weather. So we'll continue to watch that the best we can. It's in a radar hole though, so I'll just mention that every now and then. Also, the storm to its southeast, wouldn't be shocked if that gets a warning here shortly either. So just a couple of these storms are going to try to produce tornadoes. We've already seen one tornado today. There you go. That's already verified our 2% risk up in this area. So just could see a couple spin up weak tornadoes in this region. Like I said before, generally like right in here is where we're going to be keeping an eye on for tornadoes today. The main threat for tornadoes. But anyways, continuing with tomorrow's risks, we do have a less than 2% tornado risk. There's no 2% tornado risk in place. Damaging winds will be the biggest issue. Like I said, we could probably see a 30% introduced out there in Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. The one in Oklahoma, Kansas, I haven't really looked at much. But I imagine it's probably going to be a bit of a messy storm mode based on just what we typically see. I don't know. Let's see if we got like a crazy surprise or something. Oh, wow. Very clustered mode. So it's not like fully discrete storms. They're very clustered, and it looks overnight at the moment. And yeah, your risk would definitely be for mainly damaging winds. What about hail? Okay, no hail risk there over Oklahoma. So mainly just damaging winds will be the big issue tomorrow. Yep, and there's your second tornado warning. Not surprised by that at all. So we just got another tornado warning out here for 35 more minutes. Radar indicated potential for a tornado to drop at any moment here near Edmore, with a tornado on the ground generally somewhere out in this area. So tornado on the ground here. A tornado could develop at any moment right here. And both of these tornado warnings are in North Dakota, so just make sure you are in your safe spot if you're in either one of those tornado warnings, as one's on the ground and one could develop at any given second. Let's go back to our outlooks. We're going to go to the day 3 outlook here. So this is your day 3 outlook. We got a large marginal risk across much of Virginia, much of North Carolina, a good chunk of South Carolina, into portions of Georgia, Maryland, and Delaware, as well as West Virginia. I do think we will see a slight risk for severe weather, possibly in this general area here for day 3, which, what is that, Wednesday? I think that's Wednesday. That should be Wednesday. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an upgrade to a slight risk. I don't know about an enhanced risk yet. There's too much uncertainty on instability. If once we get closer, it looks like we'll get closer to that 3,000 to 4,000 instability, I wouldn't be surprised with another 30% wind risk. So if you're in the East Coast here, anywhere in the East Coast along South Carolina all the way up to Massachusetts, we're going to have the risk for severe weather tomorrow as well as on Wednesday. Both days will likely be primarily damaging winds. And then something a little bit different here, a large 15% slight risk has been introduced out here in North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota, and Nebraska. A pretty large-sized 15% tornado, or not tornado risk, just severe weather risk as a whole. Typically, 15% threat is for like hail or winds. That's normally what it's for. But yeah, just make sure you're weather aware out there. North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Minnesota. We will likely see the chance for damaging winds and some large hail. I wouldn't rule out a few tornadoes. It looks like this could be a little bit better of a tornado setup if we have a good amount of lower level wind shear. But right now, that's a lot of uncertainty. Right now, models are saying Canada for the tornado threat. It looks like models are confident in the tornado threat being in southern Canada. So we'll watch the far northern side of this slight risk for the potential of a spin-up tornado or two on day 4, which is Thursday. Just a very large jet stream going to be pushing in the northern tier of the U.S. could cause some severe storms. And also going to keep an eye further south, too. I think we could see a couple severe storms down here as well, with another different shortwave trough that could traverse the Rockies and intensify into the late evening hours. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. But the main story should be hail and damaging winds, although, again, it wouldn't rule out a spin-up tornado or two, especially in northern North Dakota for Thursday. And that's all your risk areas. We don't have anything else highlighted for day 5 through 8. So that is good news, and I don't know if they mentioned anything. I didn't get around to reading their outlook. Let's see here. Severe probabilities will probably be needed in the future, though probabilities have been withheld, precluding this outlook cycle. What about, so we'll probably see another 15% on Friday, possibly even Saturday as well. And then on Sunday and Monday, they mentioned over 4,000 instability, severe storms being possible. However, given the weak forcing, they're unsure if storms are going to be able to fire. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. Looks like if we get like a trough to dig in or something. What day is that? Let's see. Sunday, Monday is what they're talking about. So Monday, I don't see as much instability on Sunday, but I would not be shocked if we get severe weather in northern Iowa, southern Minnesota. And then Monday is insane instability, high confidence in at least 4,000 K, but upwards of actually 5,000 to 6,000 instability on Monday. Friday looked the worst. This is like the first time I'm looking at all this stuff, so like I don't really know what day looks the worst here. Right now it looks like a lot of uncertainty to me. You said Friday. Yeah, that looks the worst on the GFS because the GFS has the trough a lot stronger. It has a good shortwave, whereas like the Euro and the Canadian don't have nearly as strong of a trough. The Canadian is close to the GFS illusion, though. But yeah, Friday could be a bit of a tornado maker. Although the location varies. I think somewhere in like this area, we're going to have to watch for tornadoes going into Friday. I do agree with Friday looking maybe like the best tornado day. I don't know like this best severe weather day. I feel like damaging winds and hail. I feel like that's going to be a big issue on Thursday. We could see a spin up tornado on Thursday, but I feel like wind and hail will be a big issue. And then maybe on Friday, that could be a little bit better of a tornado threat if we get like a good solid surface low to get going. Plenty of shear on the GFS. So if the GFS is correct, which is pretty rare, it is pretty rare. Yeah, we would definitely have a good tornado threat on Friday. So we'll keep an eye on that area for Friday. Going into Saturday and Sunday and Monday, probably all of these threats look to be northern tier US. All of them look to be up in this area for the next couple of days. All up in here. All the way from, well, starting today. I mean, we have a slight and enhanced in some of this area today. Going all the way till probably Tuesday. But it's hard to say exactly like which one of these days are going to be the most prolific because they're all mesoscale days. It all comes down to what things trend towards over the next couple of days, and eventually the mesoscale features of your trough. That's going to be very important. Where your trough's located, what exactly what its strength is, and if we have that shortwave on Friday too. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on it. We'll see. We'll see which day ends up being the biggest, but right now, it looks like damaging winds and large hail will be the primary issues for the next couple days. And tornado threat, we'll just see if it ramps up on any of these days. So far, we haven't had any crazy tornado threats in July. Hopefully, we'll keep it that way. You know, we've had the occasional quick tornado or two. We had at least one yesterday. We've had at least one today. But we haven't had anything very notable just yet. But we're only 7 days into July. Do you think this year will surpass last year in tornadoes or just be under it? Probably barely under it. I think we had a very, very fast start to this season, and I feel like we're going to start slowing down. I thought we were going to slow down last month, but last month actually became actually well above average, and actually passed the tornado count from last year. So last year's tornado count from January to June was actually lower than what we saw this January to June. So we actually had more tornadoes in the first 6 months of this year compared to last year. But I think last year is going to ultimately be the one that comes out on top in terms of tornado count. I think last year will be more above average than this year. I say that because of the hurricanes last year. We saw two very prolific tornado makers, Beryl and Milton, very historic tornado makers for hurricanes, and we could see one of that this season. You know, you never know, but just this hurricane season doesn't look like it will be. It doesn't look wild, but all it takes is 1 to 2 hurricanes. That's what last year was too. Last year had 3 notable hurricanes. You had Helene, Milton, and Beryl. It took 3 hurricanes. And that turned last year to a above average hurricane season. So this year could do the same, but I don't I don't know exactly. That's your wild card right there. That's your wild card. If we have a more prolific hurricane season this year, we start seeing more storms fire towards the back end of our season, towards September, August, September, and start to see them be more intense hurricanes and more tornado producers, then yeah, it's just hard to say exactly what's going to happen. I think this year, though, will be just under. I don't think it will be very far under, though. I don't think it will be that far of a difference. You know, last year was historic for tornadoes, and this year is literally right on the same level as that. Second season going to be below average as well. It was last year, too, so. Last year, we had like one notable tornado event, maybe not even that, outside of hurricanes, so that's not really going to be a wild card because both seasons are projected to be below average, last year's and this year's. The big wild card is hurricane season. It's just going to be how many hurricanes hit the U.S. That's the wild card. If we see like 3 or 4 of them, then I'm sure we'll get quite a few tornadoes out of them. But I don't know, Milton, and especially Beryl, both of those were just such prolific tornado producers. It's not very often you see tropical storms or even a Category 3/4 hurricane produce tornadoes like that. I mean, Milton now holds the record for the most tornadoes in a 24-hour period for Florida, and I believe Beryl is pretty much the same in terms of a tropical system for Louisiana. Are we above on outbreaks? I don't know. I couldn't compare that to you. All I know is that currently we're sitting with more tornadoes than last year. But I'm sure once we get to... Actually, we might not be anymore. Aren't we, Didn't Beryl hit the US, like, literally around... Was it early July? Let's see. When did it make landfall? I can't spell it. It's not spelled how I think it is. Um, July 8th. July 8th, it made landfall in Texas. So I believe the 8th was actually the day we saw that prolific tornado outbreak last year in Louisiana because of Beryl. So in 2 days on the 9th, we're likely going to be below the tornado count that we were last year. Okay, there's July 9th, July 8th. Yep, it was indeed July 8th. So that's going to put us below the count we saw last year. Oh, I was going to say, there's no way they just canceled that tornado warning because that's still a good area of rotation. I do think there's probably some corruption and side lobe happening there, but that definitely could be producing a tornado at any second. And then let's go look back down here. These should be, yeah, mainly hailers and wind. All these for 60-mile-an-hour winds, and these two for 1-inch hail. These two here, 1-inch hail, 1-inch hail. This one for 1.5-inch hail in southeast South Dakota. And still not much happening in Colorado. Big time underperformance happening out here, especially compared to what we were thinking yesterday for today. Huge underperformance. And we have the scattered severe. Missouri has a severe. New York still has a severe. Pennsylvania has a severe. And the remnants of... I forgot the tropical storm's name yesterday. Started with a C. That's all I know. But the remnants of our tropical depression from yesterday is up here in Philly now, in southeast PA into New Jersey. Chantel, I believe is how you say it. Chantel. Yeah. That's all the way up here now. Which that was a once in 500 to 1,000 year rain event in North Carolina. I believe there was 10.5 inches of rain observed by, like, you know, rain gauges. There was 10.5 inches of rain observed. But in terms of actual rain fallen, it was probably closer to a foot. And then in terms of rivers, one river hit, I think, I'll go check because I don't want to just throw a random guess out and it be so far off. I can easily go check here. Go here. So, peaked at 28 feet. Whoa, never mind. Peaked at 32.5 feet. They kept updating the tweet. I didn't see this, actually. This is a new one. 32.5 feet for a peak of Haw River, which is the second highest the river has ever been. The only time it was higher was at 32.83. Only 0.3 higher. Only 0.3 higher. And that was from Hurricane Fran in 1996. And I chased it. I was out there. Attempted to find a way out. It took me about an hour just to get out of a town. This town right here. I can go right to it. It should be right here. Yep. Right there. That town literally took me and Lucky, just that town. It took us 30 minutes to get outside of that town. We tried to go south and the interstate was fully blocked off. East was fully blocked off. West, we barely got through west. We saw some tornado damage up here near Lakeview. And then we tried to go south, didn't work. East didn't work. We went west all the way this way. We tried to go south this way, and I believe that road was blocked off. And then eventually 3-4 tries later, Lucky finally went south and managed to get near the interstate. And then from there, it took him 5 other tries to get home. And then I had 2 other roads blocked. It was a mess. It was a mess. Overall, it took me 5 different roads just to get home. And then Lucky, I haven't seen what he saw. All I know is that it took him forever too. He was like literally 45 minutes, an hour away from home, and it took him an hour and a half. I was an hour and a half from home, and it took me almost 3 hours. Yeah, we saw some tornado damage, and then we saw this town right here. Much of it was underwater. A lot of that was underwater. There was a lot of streets where houses where the road was literally fully covered, and houses were half covered by water. And then back down here, Chapel Hill, some homes were fully covered in water. All the way up to where you could barely see the roof of some homes here in Chapel Hill. So this area was very horrific flash flooding. The interstate was shut down. Major highways were shut down. There were police blocking all the roads out here. There's a lot of lightning up there to my northeast. I'm surprised I haven't heard any of that. That's literally right. Like, that's not far from me at all. It's like 10 minutes from me. 5 minutes. Very close. But yeah, it was horrific. Me and Lucky ended up in 3, I think it was 3 different tornado warnings. And one of those was observed. We were just 2 miles away from seeing a tornado. So the tornado was right here. Right here. And me and Lucky were down in here. Might have been a little bit more south. Like, we were somewhere down in here. Likely when it was starting to lift, we just passed by the interstate, under the interstate. So we were just like literally 2 miles from seeing a tornado. We wouldn't have been able to see it either because it was so rain wrapped. I could go to Red Omega to get you the rainfall totals here real quick. So that's the path. That is the path of where the heaviest rain went. And you could see right over that town. Right over that town. 10 inches of rain according to MRMS. And the observed rainfall in the town, I think it was 10.4 something. So it was actually higher than what radar was estimating here, according to MRMS. And then Chapel Hill, I don't know how much rain they saw, but I do know the flooding there was absurd. We had two different dams fail too. I believe there was a dam failure here, and also like northwest of Fayetteville is down here. Yeah, somewhere in here there was also dam failure. I want to say it was somewhere in this area. Two different dam fails, both of them. That's closer than I'd ever want to be. Yeah, 2 miles. I really didn't want to get any closer than that. Like, Mean Lucky probably could have made it in time before it lifted, but it was so rain wrapped, and I didn't want to end up getting caught up into a tornado. It was very, very rain wrapped. We kind of just stayed back until we knew it was gone, and then went in to see if there was any damage. I didn't see any damage to houses, but there was a lot of tree damage, and I think there was there might have been a house barely clipped by it from what I saw on social media. But we didn't go driving through a bunch of neighborhoods. Both of these warnings are radar indicated now, so neither of them are actively producing a tornado, but they both could still be producing tornadoes here shortly. Chasing tornadoes and flooding is just scary. We were chasing the tornado, and then we came across all the flooding, and we stopped. We stopped and waited for emergency management to get there. There was fire department. We saw fire department and law enforcement roll up. And there was a car stuck in a drain. They were exiting a bunch of stores, and it looked like maybe a manhole cover might have been off or something, possibly. Because their car was the front right, or might have been front left. I'll get my phone out and I can tell you. It's either the front right or the front left tire was fully in a ditch. Let me go see it. Should be right here. Yeah, it was the front right and left. Both front tires were just fully like kind of under the road. So I don't feel like it was their fault. I feel like it was something like fell. Maybe the road gave in or something, but I don't know. I have no idea what it was. I don't know if it was manhole cover. I'm just trying to think of what would make a car go fully forward like that. Could have been the road giving in. Could have been a manhole cover. I don't know. It would have taken hours for that flooding to subside, so we didn't stick around after police and fire department got there. We went to check on the tornado damage. Oklahoma, yeah. So the in the thumbnail, that's because of tomorrow's threat. There's a very large level 1 out of 5 covering the whole state of Oklahoma, and then across Oklahoma City, Tulsa, even into south central Kansas, there's a pretty large level 2 out of 5 there across Oklahoma and southeast Kansas. It's for damaging winds and just winds. There's no tornado risk, and there's actually no hail risk either. You could still see some very small hail, maybe as high as and as large as an inch in diameter, but there's no notable hail risk or tornado risk. It's mainly just damaging winds 60 to 65 miles per hour possible tomorrow. I do think we could see 70 to 75 mile an hour winds back out here along the East Coast from central Virginia up through eastern Pennsylvania, northern New Jersey. Could even see an enhanced risk. Wouldn't be surprised if we see an enhanced out there for tomorrow. They've really hyped up today. It never looked good. I don't know why they put a 5% out on the day 2 outlook yesterday for today. It never looked good. And then today, everything just fell apart, and they're finally like, okay, let's just remove the 5%. Like, it looks trash now. Let's just get rid of the 5%. The highest tornado threat today is where these tornado warnings are currently active at. That's what I was expecting. Right up in here. That's where I expect our greatest tornado threat to be for the next, at least the next 3 hours, till about 9. Probably till about 9 Eastern. How was your time with family? Exhausting, but very fun. I'm exhausted, but it was worth it. We had one observed tornado warning earlier. Still keeping an eye on this storm here. Surprised it's not tore possible. But we could see something try to rotate out of that. I want to check... there's only one thing I haven't checked up here for ingredients, and that's temperature dew point spread. I know our dew points are going to be into the mid-60s, but I don't know what our temps are. Dew point 65, temps are about 75 to 77, so yeah, you're good on that. It's still very surface-based, so this storm, we'll keep an eye on it for tornado potential in the future. Right now, it's staying with a hail threat of 1.75-inch hail. Yeah, the flooding in Texas was, that was absurd. That was absurd. Yesterday, we had a confirmed fatality in Chatham County. And then Texas flood, we had 75 fatalities in Kerr County, 6 fatalities in Travis County, 4 fatalities in Burnett County, 2 fatalities in Williamson County, 2 fatalities in Kendall County, and then 1 fatality in Tom Green County. So at least 95 plus fatalities from the floods over the last 4-ish days in Texas. And unfortunately, take a look right now. Let's go to the outlooks and the excessive rainfall forecast here. We've got another moderate. There's another moderate. This is another level 3 out of 4 for flash flooding that is in place across portions of Texas. Yet again. And in terms of how bad this one looks, right now, there's a lot of uncertainty on the flash flooding. It looks like, actually, it should be ongoing right now. Yeah, this is your main flood event right now, these storms. So if any of these storms start training over each other, that's where our totals are going to get higher. What are we at for this accumulation? Looks like 3 to 4 inches of rain, isolated up to 5 inches of rain. And that's the main flood event. I don't think we'll see much after that. So, if you're in the flash flood warned areas, hopefully rain will clear out here over the next hour and a half, 2 hours. The problem with our flash flooding in Texas was storms didn't move out of the area. An MCV, which was associated with the remnants of, was it Barry? I want to say it was Barry, that category 3 or 4 hurricane. My memory's horrible. I apologize. I think it was category 4 hurricane in Mexico, went up over the mountains of Mexico and then eventually made it to Texas, like literally 2-3 days later. And it was a low pressure / MCV associated with that stalled out close to the area that had thunderstorms. And so the thunderstorms just kept rotating around that low pressure / MCV. And with the rainfall rates of about 3 inches per hour, that was forecasted. But the difference was we were thinking an hour, maybe 2 hours tops for a for the rain to keep training over the same area. So that's why the WPC had a moderate out, and they were mentioning up to about 6 inches of rain possible. But the thing was, the storm never moved. So instead of it getting out in like 2 hours, it ended up taking 6, 7 hours. And so it ended up dropping 15 to 22 inches of rainfall. It was a tropical storm. I'm going to look it up. I can't keep up with the Eastern Pacific. Let's see. Oh, it was Barry in the Atlantic. That's what it was. I apologize. So it was Barry in the Atlantic into the Caribbean, moved into the Southwest Gulf, and then it hit southeast Mexico. Then it hit the mountains and eventually moved up into central Texas. That's what it was. Yeah, I got my storms mixed up. I apologize. So what was the one in the Eastern Pacific that was a Cat 4? Let's see. Ooh. Eric. There we go. Yep. Poor memory. Have to do a refresh on everything. I'd like to see the radar imagery of that flood. Like I said, I was so busy, I didn't get to see it at all. I did not get to see it at all. But I'm pretty sure. Let me see. I might be able to go back far enough. Sometimes College DuPage can actually go back that far. I know it was on the 4th. I barely can't go back far enough. It gets towards, like, the night of the 4th. I'd like to see a huge loop of that, because I want to see how it went from southeast Mexico / east central Mexico all the way up into Texas, because that's insane. That's why I was thinking, a lot of the times these very prolific flash flood events in Texas from tropical systems make landfall like down here, go over the mountains, and then end up going into Texas like that. That's kind of the track that they go, which is why I was thinking it was from like the Cat 4 out here. But this one went more like this, and then apparently, I don't know where it went, but my guess is like up here. Something like that. So, like, that would just be... That's a strange track. Maybe I could do a bit of a longer loop here. Okay, I got a way to see the rain. So, yeah, it was a bunch of rain associated with a MCV. And that MCV was caused by the remnants of Barry. So I was correct with that. That's insane, but I would like to see it further back, when it made landfall in Mexico and moved all the way up the coastline of Mexico into Texas. But yeah, like I said, this rainfall it's going to hang around for about another hour and a half. But the good news is the heavy flash flood rates are starting to move outside the flash flood warned area. You can see how slow this stuff's moving. Like, this is a loop of the last hour, and this stuff is still training over the exact same area it was over an hour ago. So your rainfall rates today are probably about 2 inches per hour, I would imagine. I believe the WPC said 2 to 3 inch rainfall rates. We did get an extension for that tornado warning. Still radar indicated. Rotation still likely present there on both of those storms. Either one of them could drop tornadoes at any second. So if you're in either one of those warnings, make sure you're in your safe spot. But neither of them are observed, which means there's no confirmed tornadoes right now. Let's see, what was that a report of? Hold on, let me see if I can find this again. Okay. I lost it. LP Supercell near Grand Fork or nah? This isn't really much LP, but it is a supercell, yeah. Yeah, you're right with it being a supercell. It's definitely trying to rotate. It's just there's likely not even close to enough lower level wind shear for it to actually do so. Our main lower level wind shear is focused back up here. So this storm is leaving the best wind shear. And this is not even close to the best wind shear. And same with that one. And this one is extremely far from the best wind shear. So, could be dealing with these two supercells. They could be long tracked for the next 2 to 3 hours. 2.5-ish hours. Like I said, 8, 9 o'clock Eastern. Let's see what the HRRR has. I do got to give a good prop to the models, though. The NAM 3K, which is being discontinued next year, did a fantastic job with the flash flooding in North Carolina. We called that out in our live stream yesterday. So this is the NAM 3K model run, which it's not perfect, but the bullseye was very close. It was about a half county too far south. Literally about a half county too far south with those maximum rainfall totals. So it did really, really, really good with this flash flood event. Really good. And it wasn't just the NAM 3K either. Like the RAP model definitely did worse, but still had the signal of very heavy rainfall. We went over all of this yesterday. I really don't know why the WPC didn't upgrade to a moderate. 3 out of 4 for flooding for yesterday's event, because we were talking about it yesterday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. You know, the RAP model had it, the NAM 3K. I think even the GFS had, even the GFS had like higher totals than what the Weather Prediction Center was forecasting for the area, which is crazy. And once I saw all those models agree, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go chase it. And I did. So I'm really surprised the WPC didn't upgrade yesterday's threat. Let's see. I'm referring to flooding for yesterday's event, by the way, not severe weather. Pretty sure I think... Oh, someone's going for a supercell in Colorado. Colorado can have some awesome storm structures. Even on messy days, it still ends up producing awesome structures. So, really doesn't matter if there's a marginal or enhanced risk, you should chase it in Colorado. Because it always gives good structures. I sure did, Pete. I sure did. That was the worst flooding I've ever seen in my lifetime. Out of any chase. I've never seen multiple highways and an interstate, a main interstate, shut down to flooding in my neck of the woods, and never saw houses halfway underwater, and never saw multiple roads. Like, we saw 10 plus roads fully flooded and not passable. The only thing that was even remotely close to that was Helene last year. Helene last year was the worst flooding I saw in central North Carolina, but This was, it's not even comparable. Helene didn't produce nearly as much flooding in central NC as the tropical depression did yesterday. I chased Helene from South Carolina, yeah, southeast South Carolina, Georgetown, all the way up through eastern NC, and then I went to central NC for the flash flooding. There was a few yards flooded from Helene in central NC, but nothing even remotely close to yesterday's event. And literally, our chase yesterday, by the way, that started in Chapel Hill. That's where we started. And we went all over the place from Chapel Hill, and then we ended up going very close to Chapel Hill, too. We chased Helene and Debbie, Sam. But I think both of them had good flooding. Had quite a lot of flooding. Debbie was bad for all of North Carolina. That wasn't just central NC. I remember, like, Debbie, I think that was the one that had, like, literally, there were flash flood warnings, like, all in this area for Debbie. I remember that. But I can't remember seeing any significant flooding. Now, that doesn't mean it wasn't there. Just from my personal chase experience, yesterday's was the worst. You know, obviously with like Helene and Debbie, I likely missed the worst of the flooding, trying to target the tornado stuff. The weird thing about yesterday's tropical depression was the tornadoes and flooding were in the same area. Like, literally, me and Lucky went for the first confirmed tornado, and we ended up in 3 or 4 different tornado warnings, and the flooding was worse in that area. Like, some of the worst flooding yesterday was directly next to where we saw the only tornado. I think I think this storm is trying to die out here. It doesn't look... It never really looked that good. The hail is actually intensifying. The hail core is getting a bit larger, but just it doesn't look like a supercell. This one, you know, you could clearly see that is definitely a supercell. This just looks like a blob right now. There could still be an area of rotation right in here trying to produce a tornado, but we're scanning through. Let's see, our radar's down here. That's our radar. So our radar is likely very far. It is very, very far. It's likely scanning very high up into the atmosphere. I wouldn't be shocked if this is on the ground, just the way how that looks. That looks very, very strong. It would not shock me if that's on the ground. So just make sure that you are in your safe spot. Remember, a radar-indicated tornado warning means a tornado could develop at any moment. It means a tornado is imminent or possibly even on the ground. There's been quite a bit of talk about a tropical wave. There's 2 different tropical waves we need to keep an eye on here. Let's go to the satellite, the new awesome satellite that is completely overhauled by WeatherWise. There is what looks to be a tropical wave out here. It is not highlighted by the NHC just yet, but that is indeed a tropical wave. It is riding the Bermuda High, so we have a strong high pressure out here that is, let's see, going this way, just like this. And that high pressure is pushing this tropical wave, and the tropical wave is riding that high pressure. I don't know why yeah, I drew that right. I'm trying to think of if I drew this drawing right. So yeah, you have your strong high pressure, your Bermuda high. That's your main steering current for hurricane season, if you didn't know. And it's not very like insanely organized, but it's organized to the point where I'm surprised the NHC doesn't have like a 10% or a 20% on it. Like that's not bad. That is not a bad tropical wave. It is a very obvious disturbance with a lot of convection. And you can see there is a centralized low pressure trying to form, possibly like right in here. I mean, it is trying to organize. I don't think it will. The Euro model, its ensembles, the Euro ensembles give it about a 10 to 15-ish% chance of a tropical depression forming. So we'll need to watch that as it goes up. It's going to go up and around where that high pressure is. So it should be very close, likely going to be very close to hitting the Bahamas, eastern Florida, eastern Georgia, eastern South Carolina, North Carolina. It should stay off the coastline of all those areas. So it'll mainly be probably a rip current risk is what I'm thinking. I don't think it will be anything more than that. Could see some heavy rain across portions of the Bahamas, but much of it's just going to end up being a rip current issue. And then towards a bit closer to the middle of July, once we get towards like July 15th-ish or so, we'll start watching for the potential of a tropical wave to enter the far northeastern Gulf. But that has a lot of questions. The GFS wants that to be a good tropical wave, almost develops it into a tropical depression, whereas like the Euro model has barely anything, and the Canadian model run has just some rain. So we'll keep an eye on that towards the middle of July, just to keep an eye on things in the Northeast Gulf, and then also keep an eye on that tropical wave riding our Bermuda high. But right now, I think both of those areas aren't going to do a thing. It's just going to be stuff to pay attention to. You know, we're in hurricane season. We want to start keeping an eye on things. We're ahead of schedule. May, June, we're quite inactive. Well, May into mid-June, we're quite inactive. And then towards the latter half of June into July, we got quite a few. We got two, I believe three now. Three, duh. We're on C. We just had C. Tropical storm. I forgot it already. Is it Chanel? I might be saying that right. Yeah, so we're on our third named storm of the season already. And that normally doesn't happen until, I think it's early August. I think early August we see our third named storm of the season on average. So we're already about a month ahead of schedule in terms of named systems. So we went from a normal season where, you know, May's completely quiet. We had, you know, the isolated tropical storm or two in June. And then our third tropical storm in early July was very early. Our third named storm typically, again, doesn't happen until early August. So about a month ahead of schedule there. And then in the Eastern Pacific, I don't know if we ever saw anything form there. I'm going to be honest. I completely forgot about the Eastern Pacific. Did something ever form out of that like 80% AOI? I'm going to go check. The good thing about the NHC is they have very easy to access archives. It never formed. Wow. Here, let me show you how to do it. For those who don't know how to do the archive on the NHC. So this is just the normal NHC site. This is their 7-day outlook. And I want to do the Eastern Pacific. So I'm going to do EPAC. And then right there, you can see it. Right there where my cursor is. Archived outlooks. And we're going to go see. You can see it. Watch that X. And you could see it slowly increasing. Obviously, we're going back in time. So going back in time is when it was increased to 80%. 70%, 80%, 80%. Did it ever get to, yep, 90%. So that was up to a 90% chance of formation. And it just never formed. Look at that. That is crazy. It just never formed. And now it's down to a 10-10. Not often at all that you see something like that, where you go from a 90% to a 10% with nothing forming. Also, the fatalities just went up to about 104 now. Around 104 confirmed dead from the Texas floods. Unfortunately, that number's it's just gonna keep going up. One of the most deadly floods in Texas history. I don't think I have the data for that. I know someone tweeted it. Let's see. The deadliest flood in the U.S., apparently in the whole U.S., the deadliest flood in the entire U.S. ever since 1976. Ever since 1976. Most deadly since then. Wow. So what? That's nearly 50 years ago. So that is crazy. And the flood in 1976 killed 144 people. So right now, the confirmed death toll in Texas is 104. At least 104. Dude, that is horrible. 104 people died to flash flooding. And by the way, that is associated with a non-tropical system. So tropical storms, two different flooding categories. You have tropical flooding and then non-tropical flooding, obviously. And so this is the deadliest non-tropical flood ever since 1976. I should have reiterated that. So it's the deadliest non-tropical flood in the last 49 years. Yeah, this storm is indeed dying. They just canceled the tornado warning, just like I was thinking. So this is gonna probably be a pretty long tracked supercell. That might even be an outflow boundary in front of it. Yeah, very clearly latching onto a boundary. Definitely latching onto it a bit weird. Definitely weird. You know, typically we see it latching on like this. That's typically what we see. This one is very weirdly latching on to the forward flank of our supercell. I'm surprised this isn't tour possible yet. 1.75-inch hail, 70-mile-an-hour winds moving through Grand Forks. Is this on the border of South Dakota and Minnesota? Right on the border of South Dakota, Minnesota. Little surprised it's not tour possible. Very classic looking supercell. Very classic eagle split supercell. So we're gonna keep a very close eye on that. If there is going to be a tornado threat, it is definitely going to be pretty much over the city. You know, it's going to be right on the north side of East Grand Forks here over the next 5 minutes. And there is a little couplet, albeit definitely weak and broad, definitely not enough for a tornado warning, but in my opinion, just that the look of this, typically when you have a supercell that looks like this and the velocities are at least a little broad or even, you know, a little tight, that's enough for them to issue a tour possible tag. Ooh, ooh, it just came across my feed. A 7-day loop of Tropical Storm Barry. Oh my goodness. So it was two different lows. It was the remnant low from Barry that formed east of the mountains in central Mexico, and another low that formed in pretty much in the what is this bay called? Oh, it's a gulf. The Gulf of California. So a low pressure formed just east of the Gulf of California. It was on the west side of this mountain range, and then the remnants of Barry was located here. And this low pressure moved all the way up into Texas over 3 days. It formed on the 1st and got to Central Texas on the 4th. And it was an MCV. And then the tropical moisture from your tropical system moved up into Central Texas, and it became a non-tropical rain event because your main MCV took the moisture from that tropical low pressure, and then that's what caused your flooding. A very complex flooding event, and it happened right over like one specific county. It just rained for multiple hours, heavy rainfall rates for over one specific county. Let's see here. I'm trying to get the name of that county. Kerr County. Kerr County. That's where it stalled over. Let me go to Kerr County. Kerr County, Texas. All right, yeah, so that's just 2 counties northwest of San Antonio. All right, we're down to one warning, one tornado warning. We will probably see an extension for this tornado warning. Rotation is still pretty good on it. Moving off to the southeast here. So get ready for a new tornado warning. That's probably going to include Adams, maybe into Lincoln, possibly all the way down to Fortville. Likely, if we do see a new warning, it probably won't get all the way to Fortville, but it will be pretty close. I can tell you this, Grand Forks is trying to rotate, but aside from the small area of rotation, definitely could be seeing some very large hail, possibly up to 1.75, maybe 2-inch in diameter. Observed 1.75-inch hail. Also, 70-mile-an-hour winds will be possible, so definitely a big punch here for a supercell. This storm is the most tornadic, though. It's going to be latched onto that boundary, probably an outflow boundary, for at least minimum the next 2 hours and 8 minutes, at least until 8 p.m. Eastern, but possibly even longer than that. So the boundary latching increases, not necessarily violent tornadoes. We do see violent tornadoes on boundaries, but with an environment as poor as what we have today, it is going to help sustain the potential for a tornado. The boundary can allow for greater vorticity, which is also wind shear, and that can allow for a better opportunity for a tornado to develop. Sometimes supercells latch onto boundaries and never produce tornadoes, and then other times they latch onto boundaries and produce violent tornadoes. But the lower level wind shear is very unfavorable. We're looking at about 50, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH, which is really, really low. And that's great news. Models like the HRRR, earlier today, the HRRR was thinking up to like 150, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. And if that happened, we would be looking at a much higher tornado potential with this storm. Let's see here. Oh, there's that new tornado warning. Barely outside of Fortville, so that includes Adams and Lincoln in North Dakota. Vorticity and shear are the same thing. No, not necessarily, but they both can cause tornadic activity. So wind shear is typically multiple different streams moving at different speeds with different heights. Vorticity is just the spin of the air. So it's not necessarily the exact same thing, but they both have to do with rotation. Vorticity is the swirl. It could be a low pressure vorticity associated with tropical storms, hurricanes, what a cold front attaches to. And then wind shear is obviously wind shear, multiple different streams at different heights at different speeds, which is obviously what causes tornadoes. Yeah, hodograph has vorticity too. We say lower level vorticity, mid level vorticity, upper level vorticity, 0 to 3 kilometer cape plus vorticity. It's the spin. It is also the spin in the atmosphere, which is, again, it's similar to wind shear. They're not the exact same thing, but they're also not too far away from each other. You'll hear both of them are very commonly used close to each other. Let me see. Because, like, we have surface vorticity, and mixed layer instability. That's a little cheat code for chasers. Sometimes it can cause landspouts and tornadoes, even if other ingredients aren't as favorable. What else are we lacking out here? Is there like a lapse? Ooh, definitely no lapse rate issue out here in North Dakota. That's for sure. Mid levels are definitely poor, so I'm surprised we're getting. Well, that whole hail core just fell apart now. Look at that. Went from crazy DBZ values to normal. Still very heavy rain and some large hail could be falling, but I don't think it's close to 2-inch in diameter anymore. But the mid levels are very poor out here. Definitely not a skew that typically favors large hail. Huh? Okay. So that tornado warning was just disextended. Pretty much over the same tornado warning. What was the longest track tour this year? I have no idea, Proxy. I had no idea. Straightforward, I don't know. I have no clue. I do know that we had a lot of long track tornadoes. That's what I know. Plenty of them. But yeah, if you guys are enjoying the live stream, make sure you hit that like button and share the stream with your family, friends, social media. It's greatly appreciated. If you are new to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button with a notification bell set to all to help us get towards 10,000 subscribers. We are now less than 30 subscribers away from 10,000, so we are at the final stretch to get to 10K. Less than 30 away now. But outside of the severe storms up here in Minnesota and that tornado warning in North Dakota, there's not really anything too notable happening. We have the severe in central South Dakota, rather, for 1.5-inch hail, 60 mile an hour winds. But I believe all of these are just normal severes. I don't think any of these are significant. Just a lot of ordinary severes. None of them are significant. Plenty of severes in New York, though. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 severes along a line in southwestern New York. All of this is likely producing up to 60 mile an hour winds and up to 1-inch hail. Definitely could see some gusts up to 60 out of little pockets of enhanced velocities here. So we'll keep an eye on that. Big outflow boundary in front, so you already know very minimal tornado activity with that, and we don't even have wind shear out here, so not going to see a tornado threat in New York today. But whenever you have an outflow boundary that surges out well in front of a line or in front of a supercell, that tends to what's called cut off. You call it cut off. It cuts off the inflow of a supercell, and it causes a cool pool typically. It can cause a bit of a cool pool. It also can be a focal point for initiation later down the line. NEF5s this year, we don't use the Fujita scale anymore. We use the enhanced Fujita scale, which is a slightly upgraded version. And we have not had any rated EF5 tornadoes, but this is debatable. I do believe we have had EF5 intensity tornadoes. I think we have had tornadoes capable of EF5 damage, but we haven't had any tornadoes rated as such because of structures. A lot of the structures that tornadoes hit, even the violent tornadoes, aren't typically very well built, which is why even some of the strongest tornadoes this year that we've seen have been rated lower towards like EF3 intensity. And even one of the strongest tornadoes of the year down in Texas rated EF2. But likely, the EF scale is based off of damage alone. It has been rated, things are rated off of damage alone. But no, we haven't had any EF5s. And we probably won't have an EF5 for another couple years, if not decades. I don't know if it's possible to see an EF5 anymore. Rated EF5. Too much stuff. If you're curious about that, actually, I don't do this typically, but I will give a huge shout out to somebody. I don't normally do this whatsoever at all, but this was an awesome video discussing why we may not see another EF5 tornado. I'm glad I muted that because I didn't realize he had a trailer. This is from somebody I follow. Let me see here. So this dude is incredibly smart with engineering. I believe that's the YouTube link. I hope it is. And if you're curious about why we likely won't see another EF5, that is a very well-made, in-depth analysis from an engineer who I look up to a lot. So I recommend watching that. That's in the live chat if you want to go click that video, watch it later, or watch it now. Up to you. But that channel is full of awesome stuff. Really in-depth analysis on why the Fujita scale needs another update and why we won't see another EF5. The title is a little controversial. We won't see another EF5, but I think we won't. I really don't think we will see another EF5 rated tornado. Let's see. Yeah, but the two EF4 190s is insane for 1 year proxy. This year has been violent. This year has been very violent for tornadoes. It has been very, very violent. Definitely beyond what I was expecting. Sure. What, have we had like 6 violent tornadoes? It's been crazy. 2025 tornado season. 5 EF4s, dude. 5 EF4s. That's the most violent year since 2020. In terms of EF4 tornadoes. That's crazy. We also have a new mesoscale discussion here. Shoot, give me 20 years to pull it up. Thankfully, I haven't been having any significant issues with the SPC site ever since mid-June. Things have been rolling a bit smoother than normal. All right, there you go. So it's attached to the warm front. Man, if we had any more lower level wind shear, you already know this thing would have been producing a strong tornado. This is attached to the warm front here. So that's the best chance for up to 2.5-inch hail, 70-mile-an-hour winds, and a tornado or two, specifically in the black hatched area, which is with this supercell attached to the warm front. We talk about that a lot with conditional strong tornado threats. We say, you know, if a discrete storm can attach or ride or be south of the warm front, we could see a strong tornado. So if we just had a little bit more lower level wind shear, this would likely be a strong tornado threat today. But thankfully that lower level wind shear has stayed weak. I wonder if they mentioned that. Let's see. A few supercells are ongoing. More favorable corridor for a tornado or two. Dang it. I just somehow clicked off of it. Let's see. Storms are expected to remain semi-discrete. The severe threat should peak between now and 8 p.m. Eastern. So like I was saying, the next 2 hours, which is now an hour and 55 minutes. They don't mention the lower level wind shear being weak, but then again, they don't mention much of the other ingredients either. I think both should have been high risks. Rebel, if March 15th wasn't a high risk, I would be calling the SPC insane. I'm like, literally, that was out of any event I've ever seen in my entire life of tracking weather. There has been no parameter space that I have ever seen in my lifetime of March 15th. That was like the April 27th, 2011 type parameter space. It was insane for a parameter space, but it was messy, and therefore the northern side of the high risk underperformed substantially. The southern side verified, but I've never seen a parameter space like that in ever tracking weather. Like, it was literally only comparable to April 27th, 2011. But thankfully, we had a lot of overconvection, some morning convection, and that allowed for a quite a lot less impactful day than what we were anticipating. But we still had, I believe, right, EF4? I'm pretty sure we had an EF4 in southern Mississippi from that day. And then March 14th should have been a high risk from the get-go. When I started my live stream, I mentioned that right away. Right away, I mentioned a high risk should have been out for Arkansas, Missouri, West Kentucky, West Tennessee for tornadoes. And then April 2nd, not going to forget that one. The Broyles high risk that everybody started to doubt on, even Convecutive Chronicles, and of course me too. Everyone started doubting on why they even issued the high risk, and then we saw a crazy nocturnal amount of tornadoes in northeast Arkansas out of prefrontal supercells. Tornadic Rebel 2020, was it? I confuse it. You guys have corrected me so many times on this. Was it 2021 or 2022? We had a 45 hatched risk. And that had an insane parameter space that also ended up having a overconvection mess that led to it. That underperformed a lot more. We barely even saw any significant tornadoes, and that was a 45 hatched, and we barely saw significant tornadoes out of that back in 2021. That was a quite notable underperformance. But man, March 15th parameter space, I'm not going to forget that. That was insanity. I mean, the runs of every model run coming out on that, there was, like I said, I would have called the SPC insane if they didn't go high risk for it. Because just the parameter space was maxed out. There was no bust mode. And it didn't bust. It did underperform, but it didn't bust. Any tours you remember the most from this year? Obviously, Kentucky, southeastern Kentucky, the London tornado, Lake City, Arkansas, Southern Illinois EF4. Let's see. Those were like the three big notable ones in my mind. And then, of course, the one in southern Mississippi as well. Also, the Dusty Wedge in west central Texas. That one that latched onto a boundary was on the ground for like I don't know if it was 2 hours, but it was on the ground for a very, very, very long time. The violent tornadoes in southeast North Dakota ahead of a derecho. That was June 20th. I remember that date. June 20th this year. Those are like some of the notable ones I remember. That's just from memory. Let's see. What about any others? Let's see. If I just look at the U.S., one might just pop into mind. Ooh, hey, tornado warning again. That is on the ground. Weather spotters have confirmed a new tornado on the ground. 2-inch hail also ongoing. So tornado ongoing as well as 2-inch hail here in Adams and Lincoln in northeast North Dakota. But yeah, those were the most notable ones. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few intense. Oh, St. Louis EF3. Holy cow, how could I forget that? The St. Louis EF3. Jeez. Yeah, that was a very notable one. We also had there was so many. I mean, there was that outbreak in central southern Indiana that was poorly forecasted. All the other tornadoes from March 14th in southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, tornadoes from the prefrontals in northeast Arkansas as well on April 2nd. The EF3 in southwest Tennessee overnight. I forgot what day it was, but there was an overnight, I think, EF3 in southwest Tennessee that was at like 1:32 a.m. in the morning. I couldn't track. The Torrey in Huntsville, Alabama. I mean, there's so many. There's so many. But I would say the most notable one of the entire year was London, Kentucky. That is like that is the one that I remember the most vividly out of any tornado this year, and it's not even close. I remember that one like it was yesterday. Oh, the Greensburg Tory too. Yep, that one as well. We had a lot of Tories this year. We had a lot of Tories. Like I said, a lot of violent tornadoes. 5 were actually rated violent, but there was a lot more violent tornadoes capable of violent damage that were in open fields or mainly just impacted outhouse buildings or trees that were rated EF2 or maybe even low end EF3 that actually could have very easily produced violent damage. You can see a bit of an outflow boundary now. So your warm front is right up in here, and then you have an outflow boundary. Should have drew a different color. This line right here is the outflow boundary. What about Iowa? Has anything happened in Iowa? The only thing I remember from Iowa is the beginning of the southeastern Minnesota tornado outbreak. Most of those started in northern Iowa. I think Iowa has been the absolute least active state for tornadoes in like the main tornado alley. Like, this is typically the area we see the most tornadoes in. Like all of this area right here. I I can't remember anything in Iowa. Was that in Iowa, Sam? I don't know if that was in Iowa. We had a Tory in Iowa. I'm going to the I'm going to the damage assessment toolkit. I can't remember anything in Iowa. Oh, yeah. This tornado. Yeah, southwest Iowa. I do remember that. It's somewhere over here. I don't remember exactly where it was. Far south. Yeah, like in here. I'm trying to find the, yeah, up here near Emerson. I remember that was like a violent tornado and it got rated EF1. And then we had one other tornado in western Omaha, but it's it's been very inactive in Iowa. It has been very inactive in Iowa aside from that singular tornado in southwest Iowa which was rated EF1. So thankfully it's still, it wasn't a strong tornado. Capable of violent damage, but actually only did EF1 damage to mainly trees. Oh yeah. Yeah, that huge moderate. That was on like April 28th or 9th because I was coming home from um yeah, I was coming home from the Talladega Race Cup Series. That was either the 28th or the 29th of April, and it was like a huge moderate in this area, and we only had like a handful of tornado warnings, and it was a huge bust. I don't even know if we saw a single tornado on that day. It was a huge bust. Storms just didn't get going. The positively tilted trough didn't have enough forcing with it. Dang! 3 tornadoes just got confirmed from yesterday in North Carolina. What? 2 northeast of Sanford. Um, let's see. So, one at 1900 and one at 1926Z. I didn't even know that. And then, of course, the one me and Lucky chased out there. Multiple trees snapped. I want to see, is there possibly an assessment toolkit on that already? I doubt it, but hey, you never know. Also, one in Wilmington. When was there one in Wilmington? Yesterday as well. 4 a.m. yesterday morning, which actually that classifies as the 5th. Because remember, SPC outlooks are valid from 8 to 8. So 4 a.m. yesterday actually is on the National Weather Service website database for the 5th, not the 6th. Because of how their valid dates go. Yeah, there's nothing on the toolkit for yesterday's storms. Except for the one at 4 a.m. Yeah, you're not going to be able to tell with CC on this storm because it is far from the radar and it has hail. So, that allows for this to be very corrupted data most likely. So I'm not looking for a CC drop. Just be in your safe spot. If you don't know where your safe spot is, it is typically a basement or a storm shelter. If you have neither one of those, it's going to be the most interior room away from doors and windows on the lowest floor possible. And you want to have helmets, mattress, or whatever you can get to put on just over you to protect you from flying objects. But typically, basement, storm shelter. That's going to be your 2 best options. So this is the second, at least the second tornado of the day. The HRRR is so wrong, it is insane. These are going to be capable of brief spin-up tornadoes. They're latched onto that warm front, so definitely going to be capable of tornadoes. If they... It's starting to... Sam just pointed that out right as I just saw it. They are starting to get more north of the warm front, so... Mesoanalysis, instability for North Dakota. Let's go to... Okay, there's still 2,000 instability there. There's no sharp drop-off on the warm front right now. So, what I just checked right there is I was wondering if storms are north of the warm front. Is there instability north of the warm front? And is there a sharp cutoff? Because if there is, we talk about it in some other events too, especially with more classic open warm sector events. If storms typically, when they get north of the warm front, that's north of the best instability axis, so they turn more elevated for hail and wind. If they're on or south, they become all hazards more tornadic. And in this case, it doesn't really matter if it's latched onto the boundary, whether it be north, south, or on it. It's going to be able to try to be tornadic because there's instability all around that warm front. I would say the more latched onto it is, the better chance it has to produce a tornado, just because that warm front might provide a little bit better, maybe some better vorticity. I don't know for sure. Outflow boundaries typically help the most with that vorticity. I'm not too sure how warm fronts affect that. In my opinion, a bust is like a severe underperformance. So, for instance, April 28th, or I think it was, I want to say it was April 28th this year, we only had like a few tornadoes and it was a huge 15 sig. That's a full bust. That's a bust. An underperformance could be like what we saw on March 15th with the high risk, where we still saw a violent tornado, but much of the risk didn't see that violent tornado threat. We had one violent tornado and a couple other weak spin-ups. And then another strong tornado or two on that day, but it was still an underperformance from the original forecast of multiple long-tracked violent tornadoes. We only saw one, which is still very impactful, but that's an underperformance. I want to go back to the, I want to go back to that April 28th risk. April 28th, 2025. Pretty sure that was the date. So 11 tornadoes were observed. One in Kansas, one in southwest Mississippi, two in not Mississippi, Missouri. Not even Missouri, y'all. Minnesota. I can't get my states right. Southwest Minnesota, tornado there. 2 or 3 in southeastern Minnesota. And like 5, 6 in central Wisconsin. And then 1 in Kansas. There you go. Not Missouri or Mississippi. The 15 sig tour. Let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the 11 tornadoes were in the moderate. So still, I mean, not bad placement. But what about the strength of those tornadoes? Now, probably damage assessment toolkit. It's always glitchy. Like, it didn't work at all for April 27th, 2011. It was horrible. I didn't even use it for my case study. So, April 28th. EF1, EF1, EF0. No strong tornadoes. All of them EF1 and EF0. So, yeah, now that's a bust. That's a bust. Even though you still had 11 weak tornadoes, that's a bust, because you're nowhere even close to the expectation of strong to violent tornadoes. Not even close. Starting to get some more severes out here for our risk in Colorado and southwest Nebraska. We'll continue to watch those. Could see a spin-up tornado out of either this risk or down in here. But the main tornado threat will be along this warm front with these few storms training right north or on that warm front. This will continue for the next about hour and a half or so. The longer these storms survive, the worse the environment gets. So that's good. That's the good news right there. The longer these storms go, the worse environment they enter. No, Proxy, we haven't seen any maxed out MCD for tornadoes. Proxy, that that would be like literally EF5 intensity. So no. No, the highest MCD I can remember was back for Mississippi and Alabama on the 15th. And I want to say that was 205. I want to say that was up to 205. On March 15th. Let me go see. I'm going to go back and check. Let's see. Okay, no, those were 190. Everything was 190. Yeah, we had like... Oh, we did have a maxed out MCD. Wait, that's weird. That's not maxed out. So 190 is one less than maxed. But as some racing just pointed out in the chat, there was one for 175 and it was highlighted as maxed. Like, what? You're telling me 190 isn't maxed, but somehow 175 is maxed? And that was for a violent tornado ongoing. They issued a pink MCD for that. But I've never seen a properly maxed out one. That's a special MCD 175 for a violent tornado ongoing. But no, maxed out has to be 190 plus. Because there's different categories to it. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 7 different color codes for MCD tornado probabilities. And on the 15th, it was a 6 out of 7. And a 6 out of 7 is a 170 to 190. So a 7 out of 7 has to be more than 170. And more than 190 as well, actually. More than 190. April 28th severely underperformed / bust. Yeah, it did. A severe underperformance is a bust. May 6th. Let me go see May 6th. Rotation on this observed tornado warning, by the way, has died out very rapidly, but it is still observed, so be in your safe spot. This is in North Dakota. May 6th. You talking about this year? I think you're talking about another year. I think a bust is a severe underperformance. It's not necessarily when absolutely nothing happens. Like, is nothing happens... So, does that mean if there's like a 60 hatched tour and we see 1 EF0, is that a bust or a severe underperformance? In my opinion, a severe underperformance and a bust is the same thing, where you have... the forecast is nowhere near the expectation, or the outcome is nowhere near the forecast. There you go. Jeez. Everyone has their different interpretation of what a bust is and isn't. Hello, Crazy Rider. Underperformance means when stuff doesn't meet expectations, and a bust means like nothing happens, like no storms fire. Wow. So then we get like 2 busts a year. Nothing fires. Do you know how difficult that is? That's very difficult. That only happens off like dry line events, and even then that's so difficult to have, but I mean then you get like 1 bust a year if that's the case. But like I said, you know, you can we all have different opinions on what it is and isn't. Man, that expired right when I clicked on that. Did you see that? I tried to click on that one and it expired. So much of this is still just staying as ordinary severes. Oh, that is a significant severe. So this is a tornado possible tag, also 2-inch hail, which means it is a considerable, aka significant, severe. You could see by the damage threat is considerable there. For the next 29 minutes in Sydney in far west Nebraska. So make sure you are indoors, away from doors and windows, and might want to be in your safe spot. You know, it is tour possible, so it's not a bad idea to get to your safe spot. No, there's no fact for what is and isn't like a definition of a bust. The SPC doesn't have a definition of it or anything like that, so it's going to vary from person to person substantially. I know some people who call nearly every event, any event that doesn't hit like its highest expectation or possibility. Like if the SPC is calling for the possibility of multiple violent tornadoes and we see one violent tornado, then they'll call it a complete bust. Which that's not my opinion of a bust, but like I said, we all have different interpretations of what is and isn't. Oklahoma bust. I do remember. Was that an enhanced risk proxy? Like literally that one, nothing. That I believe nothing fired on that. Like just a bit of light rain. I'm pretty sure. I do remember that. I don't remember the day at all, but I remember tracking a 10 sig tour in Oklahoma and like literally nothing happened at all. So this storm's area of rotation is definitely broken up, which is good. Yeah, so we're having a debate on what is and isn't a bust, which is what the forecast is versus the outcome. So right now, or say like there's this high end event and the official SPC is calling for a violent tornado or two, and we end up seeing like 5, 6 strong tornadoes and no violent tornadoes. Some people would call that a bust because we don't see violent tornadoes, and other people would call it a, you know, it performed as expected because we still saw 5 or 6 strong tornadoes. Just don't take your opinion to Twitter, Sam. Don't take your opinion to Twitter. Because I did that one time on my opinion on a bust and I got flamed for it. And then I slowly changed my opinion of a bust as I started tracking weather more and more. Just don't tweet about it and you'll be okay. Just don't go to Twitter. If you have an opinion, keep it off of Twitter. Especially in the weather community. I talk about all my opinions here on YouTube and I've never been crazily flamed for it. Yeah, so we're down to one tornado warning still, just for 10 more minutes here. I don't think this will be continued, to be honest. It really looks like the rotation has died out. The storm is, it's not fully weakened, but it is weakening. It's still capable of probably 1.5 inch hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, and possibly a tornado, but overall the hazards are definitely lower compared to what it was 30 minutes ago. Same goes for this storm here. It's all the way down to 60-mile-an-hour winds and 1 inch hail. This recently produced 2 inch hail and 70-mile-an-hour winds, not but about 30 minutes ago. Yeah, like literally 98% of the community, Sam. That's why I only follow like 99 to 100 people. I try to choose who I follow very, very carefully. This year, I have completely just minded my own business. I've just, and ever since then, it has not been bad. I've tried not to comment or even look at any drama at all on Twitter or interact with any of it, and it's been great. I still, I still am like iffy on if I want to never use X/Twitter again, but it's such a useful resource. That's where a lot of reports are from. And the main reason I'm on there is because the SPC runs accounts on there, the National Weather Service tornado account, the severe account, my National Weather Service, all the offices have accounts on there, and those are the ones that I look at frequently. Although I don't follow many of the NWS accounts. I think I followed the tornado account, the SPC account, and National Weather Service Blacksburg. It is pretty useful. It is. Oh, it's tornado warning down here. I was like, what? We got another tornado on the ground here. I looked at this a moment ago and I ignored it because it looks like corruption. And it's going to be impossible for me to say what is and isn't happening there. So there's a tornado on the ground somewhere. On the left side of this red tornado warned polygon. Law enforcement. Oh, yeah, of course. Law enforcement has confirmed a tornado. Let's see. 14 miles north of Yuma. Hey, that's a familiar town name. Moving east at 20 miles per hour. Hold on, I want to go 14 miles north of Yuma and see exactly where that puts us. 14 miles north of Yuma. So that puts us right here. That puts us on like this northern edge of corruption. So we have a tornado. Let's go back to weather-wise again. Sorry, I'm switching everywhere. So there's a tornado on the ground right here, moving east according to law enforcement. And this is about 14-ish miles north of Yuma in northeastern Colorado. So be in your safe spot. That's the third tornado of the day. Third tornado of the day. And I think that's in the 2%. Yep. That is in the 2% tornado risk by the SPC. And I do think there's a chance we get another spin-up tornado somewhere in this area later today as well. I still think we're going to probably see another tornado or two tonight. One likely out of this area. Another one likely out of this area. And probably going to end up with another tornado eventually somewhere around here later on today. Man, Legacy, that's a crazy ad. Why are you getting an ad in the middle of stream? I have that off. I literally only have ads for when you first click on the stream and when you like right as I end. Those are the only two times I have ads. So if you refresh the stream, you might get an ad. Yeah, but it's off. I just looked at it. Mid-roll ads are fully off, which means it's only going to be when you first click on and when we, like, pretty much when I'm ending the stream. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. YouTube does all sorts of stuff with their platform. They change settings so frequently. Wouldn't surprise me if even I put it to minimal ads. They put ads everywhere. A little surprised they continued the tornado warning, but they have for this very small area of rotation. Red is winds going away from the radar. Green is winds going towards the radar. So we have an area of rotation that's going to be heading into Fordville, Conway, and Inkster here in northeastern North Dakota. So be in your safe spot. This storm has already produced tornadoes. I skipped the second ad. I skip every ad. I'm not going to be offended at you skipping ads. Skip them as fast as you can. Because that's exactly what I would do. You get an ad like every 5 minutes. I only watch one streamer on Twitch, and they have the settings set for like every 30 minutes or an hour, you get 5 to 10 ads. So, like every half hour to an hour, I just get 10 minutes straight of ads. 5 to 10 minutes straight worth of ads. I'm like, dude. I think it's a lot more bearable with how YouTube does it. You know, you get a 30-second ad maybe every 10 to 15 minutes. It's a lot more split up as opposed to 10-minute ads every hour. Can't you leave and come back? Anytime I do that, I still get ads. I wonder how accurate these velocities are, and I also wonder why our radar hasn't updated in almost 10 minutes. I wonder if this is down or if this is a weather-wise issue. Hold on. Okay, nope, that updated literally a minute and a half ago. So I'm going to open GR2 really quick. There we go. Crowns in chat. So it's YouTube's attempt of keeping up with how Twitch is running their community chat. So Twitch has a lot more customizations for live chats, and YouTube's trying to do their own version of it without looking like it's blatantly copying Twitch. But it's done horrible. Like Proxy could have done like 30 messages by now, and they're in second place. And then one time we just had Lucky come in and tweet like 5, or not tweet. He came in and chatted like 2-3 times and he was in first. So the XP is weird. You could type 3 to 4 times and be in first place, or you could type 50 different times and somehow be in second. The XP is horrible. Is it capped out? I wonder if 150 XP is capped out, because Powell Proxy and who else? Kenny. You guys are all tied for first. So maybe it's capped out, but it's horrible. I think I could turn it off. I should try to turn it off. Somebody told me I can. I think this radar's down. What? It's down because of clear skies. Yep. It ain't scanned in... Where's the time on this? It hasn't scanned in 13 minutes on this software. On weatherwise, it hasn't scanned in 11 minutes. And let's try the... What? Okay, so Radar Omega, it just got a new scan. What you mean Radar Omega just scanned sooner? Okay, hold on. I'm going to go refresh weatherwise. Because there ain't no way Radar Omega is faster than weatherwise. Yep. Radar Omega is actually faster than Weatherwise and GR2 analysis for radar scans right now. Hold on, Mark just took 3rd place. Let's see what he's at now. Let's go to the crowns again. Now we got a 4-way tie. And see now why is it choosing Mark over Kenny? Like, what's the algorithm for that? Is it just whoever gets it soonest or something? I don't know. It's so dumb. Yep, 4-way first place tie. Like, I don't know. Character count. Whoever shouted more. We'll never know. My question is, why is the XP capped at 150 XP? Because that's like... Oh, man. Math. Hold on. That's like 6 messages. That means in 6 messages, you should be in first place. Because XP, it's 25 XP per message. I did that math right. I'm thinking of it again. But sometimes it doesn't count. Like, Legacy has chatted 5 to 10 times already, and she has only 75 XP, which is 3 messages worth, so. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Yuma County Dispatch relayed a report of a tornado looking to the west-northwest of this location. Not sure. Was not sure it was in Yuma or Washington County. That's like the most detailed law enforcement report I've seen in my life of a tornado. A lot of the times when we see a report of a law enforcement reporting a tornado, it's just like, tornado reported at this location. Or sometimes not even that. Sometimes the report doesn't even come in on our softwares. I'm going to see if I can turn it off. I mean, yeah, it does encourage people to chat, but then it's going to get people like wanting to spam or something. How are you at 175? Powell, you just broke the sound barrier. I didn't. Now you're at 200. I thought 150 was it. How are you at 200 now? Went from 150 to 200 in 2 messages. But none of your other messages in like the last 5 minutes counted at all. And then it just decided to count those 2. Like, what? I've seen people in the 400s before, but it was a 6-hour live stream. I don't know how it works. Now you're at 225. You just rocketed into first place out of nowhere. Like, what is up with this? I'm seeing if we got any information here. Still radar indicated on that tornado warning North Dakota. No longer a tornado on the ground there. Just seeing if there is anything I have missed. All right, let's go see if Powell's up even more. 225. Man. It can't make up its mind. You send 1 chat, okay, you get 25 XP. The next 20 chats, 0 XP. I wish YouTube would have more community interaction things for live streams, because That's what we do the most here. We live stream the most. So strange. Still an observed tornado warning for 10 minutes. Um, it's impossible to see this. Like, I don't know how law enforcement even saw this. This DBZ is at almost 70, and at the time of the tornado report, it was definitely at or even above 70 DBZ. So, I couldn't see a tornado or anything in this DBZ. 50 to 55 DBZ, and I couldn't see anything yesterday. So I don't know how law enforcement was able to see a tornado with 70 plus DBZ. If you don't know, DBZ is basically just a way that we measure rain and or hail. The higher the DBZ, the heavier the rain, and or at some point it gets to hail. Typically after about 55 DBZ, right around there is when you could start seeing small hail. But there's no like set DBZ. It just 55 plus is when we start talking more about hail for thunderstorms. Let's see what this one's at. So this one's at like almost 60. So that's going to be very, very heavy rain. Maybe very small hail. Yeah, there's no set DBZ for hail. Like it's not very clear. It's going to vary from storm to storm because we've seen 60 DBZ, we've seen that produce 2-3 inch hail, and then we've seen 60 DBZ produce nothing but moderate to heavy rain. So it just depends on where the radar is, where the beam scanning, how far the storm is, what DBZ it is, what the environment is. I haven't opened Twitter in a minute. Did you tag me in a bunch of stuff today, or if you're talking about today, I haven't gotten any mentions today. I never use VIL for hail. Nope. That is this right here, and it is typically. It's just I don't really know how to use it, and I find it inaccurate because a lot of the times it's just at 80, whatever this is, kilogram meter square. I don't know. I do not know. And a lot of the times it's at 79 or 80, and the hail size at this unit is like always varying. It could go from 1 inch hail to 5 inch hail. I've seen with this same 79 to 80 unit. I don't know what it's measured by at all. I haven't put any research into it. I just know it's used for hail, and I know I haven't used it. I know it's used for hail, and I don't use it. That's the two things I know about it. Oh yeah, you've tagged me the most for sure, Proxy. A lot of the times, right when you tag me, I'm looking at it. Like there was one time last month, I believe, I clicked on a tweet and then I saw the comments and it was like 5 seconds ago, Proxy added you. And I was literally on that tweet and I saw your comment. So a lot of the times, right when you tag me, I'm either on that or I have no idea about it. It's very useful though because I can only see so much on my end and pay attention to so many things at once. Starting a competition with the crowns. TRG's trying to do the weather, and everyone in chat's like, crowns. Yep. Hey, I would be too. I would be too. The thing is, I wouldn't even attempt to get to number one, um, because it's the algorithm screwed up. It's screwed up. Whatever coding or whatever they did to it, it's screwed up. I could chat 100 times and get just as much XP as somebody who chats 3 times. So what's the point in me chatting more if I'm just randomizing XP? So I wouldn't even chat much. I would just be like, skip this. So I feel like it also it encourages you to chat, but also doesn't encourage you. I'm waiting for this tornado warning to expire. This one expires in 20 minutes. And this one expires in 5 minutes. I'm at least waiting for that one to expire. Yeah, we've talked about everything, so that's good. We'll just keep covering. We'll just keep covering until either until no tornado warnings are left or I just end. Heard another beep. Let's see. What does DBZ stand for? Decibels reflectivity, something like that. Let's go see what that was. There we go. I don't know when I moved weather-wise. Okay, they canceled the observed warning, so no tornado warning in effect there. And they still are continuing this for 18 more minutes, radar indicated. Here. What does DBZ in weather mean? Decibels of reflectivity. Ta-da! The mobile radar trucks have gotten insane data proxy. It has been probably the best year ever for radar imagery. It has probably been the best year ever. Yeah, let's look at some model data. Since we just lost that observed warning, I'll keep radar up here in North Dakota, but we'll switch over to some models real quick. Let's see. Are there storms? Okay, there are storms firing there. What Z is it? It is 2258. I'm trying to see how inaccurate the HRRR is, and it's very inaccurate. So we're going to ignore that, and we're going to just go for tomorrow's model run. So here is College Due page. And let's look at tomorrow's severe weather event. There's one in Oklahoma, too. We'll look at that in just a second. So storms are going to start intensifying as soon as noon Eastern time up here in Pennsylvania, Northern Virginia, into Maryland. Capable of 60-mile-an-hour winds, 1-inch hail at first, and they will quickly grow upscale over the next few hours. The event should peak probably between 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern will be the peak activity. I think we could see some gusts of 70 to 80 miles per hour up in this area. There is a chance we see an enhanced risk 3 out of 5 introduced in this region for the potential of damaging winds of 70 to 75 miles per hour. This is 5 p.m. Eastern, continues to push eastward. 6 o'clock, still on a strengthening trend. 8 p.m. begins to weaken. 9 p.m. it is really dissipated, and if not dissipated, moving off the coastline of New Jersey and Delaware. And then out here in Virginia, North Carolina, not really anything too crazy out here. I think we could see a lot of these multi-cellular storms are going to be capable of 60 to maybe 65 mile-an-hour winds. Could see half-inch hail. But the tornado threat is near zero. The hail threat is very low. Main threat is going to be damaging winds. Flash flooding shouldn't be much of an issue. Shouldn't see that many training thunderstorms either. And this will be very scattered too. So storms should intensify near 2 o'clock and persist all the way till at least 7, 8 o'clock Eastern time in this area. And it's very hit or miss. It's not like a big line of thunderstorms or anything like that. It is very much hit or miss. So this model run's going to be wrong is what I'm saying. Storms could be right with some storms at 7 o'clock, which is what we're looking at here, and it could be wrong with some. This model is not very good with the Appalachian Mountains. I actually kind of like this model better, the NAM 3K, but that fires nothing, so I at least want to see some rain tomorrow, so hopefully the HRRR is correct with some light rain over my house. Yay. More rain. Then as for Oklahoma, this is zoomed in on our... Actually, let's zoom out a little bit. There you go. This is for our slight risk back out here. Thunderstorm should get going probably near 3, 4 o'clock Eastern up in Kansas and slowly drift to the south-southeast. Likely dead south. You can see some do move southeast there throughout much of the afternoon into the evening hours. I don't see much here, personally. I think we could see 60, maybe 65 mile-an-hour wind gusts, 1-inch hail. But I don't really see anything significant, and I don't see anything tornadic being an issue. So we'll continue to monitor that just in case we see uptrends tomorrow. We'll look at the NAM 3K, because sometimes that can be a lot better. But that shows a very similar scenario. Not really much to worry about, according to our model runs there. A bit of a better threat for severe weather may exist out in Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina for the day following tomorrow. So not Tuesday, but rather Wednesday. I think we could see some severe storms on Wednesday, possibly up to 70 miles per hour. That's going to be a day I watch a bit closely in terms for a better chance of severe weather. Still a minimal tornado threat, not a lot of wind shear, which is turning with height. And your temperatures, yikes. That is insane dew points. What is that, like 79? Oh my goodness. Dude, 79 dew points. Yeah. Wednesday is going to be miserable. Wednesday, especially Wednesday evening, very miserable. We could get 79 dew points, mid to upper 80 temps, and 90% humidity in like this region between 4 to 7 Eastern. Alright, note to self, wake up early and go outside, because you ain't going to be going outside in the afternoon, that's for sure. It looks like the best time to be outside is like 17Z, 16Z, 17Z, which is noon to 1 p.m. And then storms ignite towards 2 p.m. But I do think we could get an upgrade currently if we go to our official risks. Wednesday is a marginal. I think we could see a slight risk introduced in this area here. I think we could see a level 2 out of 5 introduced. And then tomorrow, we have a slight risk level 2 out of 5, and I think we could see a level 3 out of 5 introduced up here. It depends on which way things trend. It could be a little bit more south, closer to Richmond for that level 3 out of 5, or it could be a lot more north, which is what I'm thinking, from about DC up through Philadelphia and eastern PA. And then day 4, we have a risk up in North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska. See you later, Crazy Rider. Thank you for tuning in. We have a risk for severe weather on Thursday. And this is a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of uncertainty on what this shortwave, this shortwave, this shortwave, and this elongated positively tilted trough will do. There is a lot of question marks, and how this evolves will determine the threat for tornadoes and overall severe storms. Friday, this shortwave could be stronger than what is currently depicted by the NAM model, and that could create a couple of severe storm / tornado issue out in this area. or it could be next to nothing. So Thursday right now looks like a lot of damaging winds and some large hail, possibly a brief tornado or two. Friday looks like the threat for all hazards across Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois, but there's a lot of uncertainty on it. And then Saturday, too much to talk about, way too much uncertainty. You're going to chase this, right? Probably not. Yesterday was a tropical system, which I really wanted to chase because it was the first tropical storm in this neck of the woods of the whole season, and it was a historic flood event and a tornado threat too. And tomorrow looks disgusting for a chase day. Quite frankly, it looks disgusting. There is a sharp instability axis, which is very different than the NAM 3K, so I'll see, but there's a very low chance of a chase. I'm not gonna chase 30 to 50 mile an hour winds. There could be a gust, like I said before, up to 60 to 65, but these storms are gonna be moving relatively quickly, probably 40 to 50 miles per hour, and they're going to be more summertime thunderstorms, which are very annoying to chase. Thunder storms in summer towards like July. I was trying to think of how to word that. Thunderstorms in like June and July, they're kind of different. A lot of them like to pop up and then quickly die. So up here in this risk area, this is like a good line. That's really good. That's more like your typical thunderstorm risks. But here in Virginia, North Carolina, with this type of setup, it looks like tomorrow a lot of these storms are going to just pop up and then die out and then re-intensify and then die out, and it's just going to be that for hours straight. Now, I'm a little bit more interested in Wednesday. Wednesday is a little bit better. I don't know what storms fire off of, but it looks like they're a little bit more organized. So I wouldn't rule out a storm chase on Wednesday, but tomorrow looks very unlikely. Tornado warning canceled. We are officially without any tornado warnings in the entire US. So we're probably going to start concluding our live stream here in 5 minutes. I didn't plan but to live stream for an hour, but I decided to do longer since we kept seeing more and more tornadoes. We saw about 3, maybe 4 tornadoes today. And I still think we could see an additional tornado or two, both in this risk area here and also back up along the warm front up here. I wouldn't fully rule out a tornado here either. Really, all 3 of these areas that I just circled in white, we could see a tornado or 2 in any of those 3 regions for the next 2 hours, till about 9 Eastern. After 9 Eastern, everything should start to weaken quite quickly. Could I see anything? Probably not. To be honest with you, you're like on the mountain range, right? You're out here. Yeah, so there's a chance like tomorrow night and very early in the afternoon Wednesday. So when storms die off tomorrow and when storms form Wednesday, there's a chance you get something, but I really don't think so. I really don't think so. So tomorrow there's going to be a batch of storms that fire here, move east, and I think those will die out by the time they get to you. And then Wednesday, it looks like storms are going to fire to your east. So you could get something, but right now I don't think so. I don't see you getting anything. You're probably going to be in another risk for severe weather on Thursday, too. So if you haven't already, we're getting close to the end of the stream. Make sure you hit that like button, share the channel with your family, friends, social media, and subscribe with the notification bell set to all so you know when I go live or upload a video. Videos are still far and few between. I've been very busy with family, so I haven't had time to make videos. I just, typically you guys like live streams more, so I've decided to do, yesterday was a stream, today was a stream. I was going to make a video, but I don't want to burn myself out. A lot of the time in June and July, June was very bad for burnout for me. I overworked myself. So in April, May, March, like late March through all the way till early June, we're doing live streams nearly on a daily basis, in videos at least once a week. And by the time we get to mid-June, I'm burnt out and I don't want to make any content. And so that's what I'm trying my best to avoid. It's been far and few between videos, and live streams aren't the most frequent, but I haven't fully been burnt out. And of course, I did take a 4-day break, but that's not because of burnout. That's because my family was over, and I literally had no time. Like, we were getting up at 7:30, 8 a.m., leaving the house and not getting back till 10. And then I was going to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock because we were getting up so early. So I didn't have any time for streams, and I didn't want to force myself to live stream and then it not be enjoyable to watch and then have no energy the next day. But anyways, Minnesota going to get a tornado. It is still possible that northwest Minnesota sees a tornado tonight, but no notable tornado threat for today. Not anything too over the top. And then I would also be keeping an eye on Thursday as well. There is the chance for, actually, yeah, this is Thursday. There is a chance for a tornado as well in northwest Minnesota, but no like outbreak potential. Just both of these days, today and Thursday, are both the chance for a tornado or two. Not anything crazy, but yeah, that's going to be it for this stream. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. I appreciate the mods from on chat, everybody being here. Thank you for helping me reach over 1.7 thousand people with the word of severe weather today. I greatly appreciate it. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Monday night. Go chill for a bit. Try to make Monday a little bit more fun. It's very difficult to make a Monday fun. I don't like Mondays. Least favorite day. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you have a great Monday, and thank you all once again for tuning in, and mods for mod chat. Thank you, Legacy, Pete, Caleb, Catman for modding chat. Hopefully, I mentioned all the mods that tuned in. I appreciate you all for modding chat, and everybody just simply for being here and hanging out. Again, have a great rest of your Monday night, and I will catch you guys possibly in a stream tomorrow. We'll just see. It's 50-50. I'm just going to wing it. Stay safe, watch severe weather, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Thank you for watching the stream, and I'll see you guys in the next stream or video that I do. Have a great rest of your Monday night. Thank you.